Alright, today we're going to be making a networked chat system, so you can put this in your game and then your players will be able to communicate with each other pretty easily. You could definitely build on this, make it cooler, make it your own, for sure. In this case I'm going to be using the third person project here just because it's already fully networked. So I'm just going to call this, we'll go with chat system. And I'll be back when everything is finished. Alright, so all of the networking is going to be done inside of the system character here, so we'll open that up. And we'll come to the .h file to get started. So what I'm going to do for this system is every time the player wants to send a message, I'm going to make a check and I'm going to say, does the player have authority to send the message? If the player is the server, then send the message. But if the player is not the server, then ask the server if they can send a message. You might be thinking, why don't we just send the message? Why are we asking the server to send the message? Well, in my opinion, it's kind of a bad idea to let any player send a message. We want to put that in the hands of the server. Because you can imagine, what if a player tried to send a message that was 9 billion characters long? Well, it'd probably crash the game or make something bad happen. So we're going to put some checks in there. And the server's going to say, well, is this message dodgy or is it a normal message? And filter out bad messages. If the player tries to send a message that we would consider malicious, then what we do then is we can just disconnect the player. So, yeah. Anyways, let's begin with get lifetime replicated props. So this is something that you need to have in your game whenever you're using networking and replicating things. We're going to go to chat system and open up chatsystem.h, and we'll change that to just engine. And we're also going to include net/unrealnetwork.h. Net/unrealnetwork.h is just going to handle some networking stuff, and I want all of my source files to have networking built into them, basically. So we're just including it here. So I can close that now. So we need to make a virtual void get lifetime replicated props. And it takes an array of lifetime properties. And it is a const function. There we go. This is the function that declares what we want to replicate and what we don't care about replicating. That's all that does. Okay, let's see. We're going to add a text render component as well. So I'm going to say text render component. This is just responsible for displaying whatever the player says. I'm going to call that chat text. We're also going to override the begin play. And I'm going to add a input here. I'm going to say player input component bind action. Actually, we won't worry about that. We can leave that. So the process for sending a message is we're going to attempt to send a message. If we can, if we're the server, send the message. If we're not, ask the server to send the message. So I'm going to make a function called attempt to send chat message. We cannot call it send message because send message is already declared as a function somewhere, so that'd be breaking it. And one of the parameters is going to be the message to send. You might be wondering, why we're using a const f-string reference instead of just a normal f-string like that. When f-strings are networked, they need to be const references for some reason. And also const references are generally faster to work with anyway. so that's fine. We're going to make this a blueprint callable function because our HUD needs to be able to call this. I'm just going to give that a category of chat/messaging. We're going to add a private section here. So we're going to void send chat message. Okay, so let me explain this. This function sends a message. Only call this function if we are the server. Otherwise, use server send chat message. So if we are the server, we can safely call this without any issues. However, if we're not the server, we need to call the server send chat message function, and that's the one that's going to check, hey, you know, what size is the message? Does the message look dodgy? Things like that. I'm also going to make a function called clear chat message. And I'm just going to say, clears the current message called automatically 5 seconds after sending a message. And we're going to set that up using a timer to make that happen. Okay. The next thing is our server send chat message function. So this is going to be server send chat message. And this is going to be a U function. It is a server function. We want this to be reliable because I always want it to work. No matter how much load the server's under, we always want the message to come through. But it's up to you to, you know, figure out what do you want to be reliable and what do you want to be unreliable. Unreliable stuff won't go through 100% of the time. Reliable will hopefully go through 100% of the time. And we're also going to put with validation, although I believe it's actually enforced. It makes you add a with validation as of one of the later versions of Unreal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say server send chat message underscore implementation. This is what you do with server functions. You need to make a implementation version. And we also need to make a validate version, which is going to be a bool. Server send chat message validate. And that's going to take a const string reference as well. So there is our message there. Okay. I'm going to add another section down here. We'll just go into the protected section, why not? I'm going to make a f string called current message. This is the message the user's currently trying to send. I'm going to make this visible anywhere. Blueprint read write. I'm going to make it transient, and I'll explain what transient does in a bit. I'm going to say replicated using onRep underscore current message. And I'll explain onRep in a second as well. And I'm just going to use the same category of chat slash messaging. I'm also going to make a initial message. Actually, no, we won't worry about that. Okay, so I'll explain onRep first. OnRep basically means that whenever this variable changes, whenever current message changes, we automatically call our onRep function, which I haven't made yet, so we'll make that now as well. So we're going to say u function void onRep underscore current message. Okay. Oh yes, and transient. Transient means that by default the variable is not equal to anything, and when the game starts, I believe we set it equal to something. I think it's generally used with integers, meaning it's initially set to 0, and then it's set to something else. Like, for example, health would start off as 0, but then some other value sets it to 100. In our case, we're using it with a string, which worked for me, so I've been using it. Okay, let's implement a lot of this stuff now. We'll start off with the send chat message function. And we also need to do the lifetime replicated props function there as well. Sorry if I sound like crap, by the way, guys. I feel like crap. I'm pretty sick, but still making these videos. Here we have our get lifetime replicated props function. Inside of that, we need to call the super of that. And then we need to use the do-rep lifetime macro. And inside of that, you can see it's asking for C, which is the class. And then it's asking for V, which is the variable. So we need to put in current message. And there we go. Inside of our begin play, I'm just going to call super begin play. And I'm going to set current message equal to nothing by default. Okay, we also need a function that will update the character's text above the head. So we're going to make an update chat text function. And while we're at it, let's initialize our chat text. So we're going to say chat text equals create default subobject uText render component chat text. We're going to set the horizontal alignment. Oh my god, cannot type. There we go. Man, I suck. EHTA center is the we need to put in there to make it center properly. Let's see. We also need to set the relative location of the chat text. Set relative location. And if we set it to this location, 0, 0, 100, that will put the text above the player's head. And then the last thing we're going to do is just attach the text to the character itself. So set up attachment, and then we'll just attach it to the root component. Okay, so let's go into our attempt to send chat message function, and I'm going to right click and go to create definition. Right, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say that if the role is less than role authority, then we're going to call the server send chat message. If we are the server, then just send chat message. And we need to pass in message in there as well. Alright, so what this is doing, we're basically checking if the role is less than role authority. What that means is, are we or are we not the server? If role is less than role authority, we are not the server. So I'm going to put a comment here. If we are not the server, call server send chat message. Otherwise, call send chat message, since we are the server and we can trust ourselves. Okay, so that's basically sending the chat messages. Let's make the send chat message function as well. Send chat message. We're going to say that the current message is equal to the message here. And then we're going to update the chat text. And then we're going to set a handle. So we're going to say timer handle. And I'm going to use get world timer manager dot set timer. I'm going to pass in my dummy handle that I made. And we want to call clear chat message after 5 seconds. So after 5 seconds, we want to clear away all of our chat messages and stuff like that, so it's no longer visible on the screen. Right, the next thing we can choose here, we'll do server send chat message. The implementation for that, all we do is we just call send chat message, because this assumes that we've passed validation. So we need to make that as well, the underscore validate method. All we're going to do for this here, you can see that we have the message as a parameter. All I'm going to do is make sure the message length is less than 255. If it is, return true, else return false. Now if I return false, that's going to disconnect the client from the game. So if any of our players attempt to send a message greater than 255 characters in length, they will be disconnected from the server. So that's basically what we want, although you could adjust that to suit your own needs, of course. Update chat text is going to be pretty simple as well. So to update the chat text, what we need to do is basically put together a if string. We're just going to say, we'll do chat text, set text. We're going to pass in an if text from string, and we're going to set that equal to the current message, like so. And there you go. You can save that now. On rep current message, all that's going to do is update the chat text. So whenever our player types a new message and the message gets updated, it will automatically call update chat text for us, which is nice. Let's do clear chat message now. So to clear the chat message, we're just going to set the current message equal to nothing, and then update the chat text, like so. And that looks like it should be it. So at this point I'm going to go ahead and save and build my solution. One problem I have here is in my implementation I just forgot to pass in the message parameter, so that's the only error I think I have with my code. Okay, now we need to make some method of sending messages. So I'm going to go into the third person CPP folder, right click and go to user interface widget blueprint, and I'm going to type UI underscore send message, and we're going to make a really quick HUD that allows us to send a message. I'm going to use a text box. I'll just put it here, drag out some text, I'm going to click on text committed. Before I do that, I'm going to change the name of this to message box, and I'm going to click on text committed, and here is my on text committed now. What I'm going to do with this is get the player character, cast it to our character, the chat system character, and I'm going to say that when we commit, we can convert to pure cast as well. And we're going to attempt to send a message, plug text into there, and plug this into here. And now hopefully it will send the message for us. One more thing I'm going to do is when we construct the HUD here, I'm going to get the player controller and set show mouse cursor to true, and that way we'll be able to actually click on stuff and show our mouse cursor. And we'll also drag out and set the input mode to UI only. Type self and then get a reference to self, plug that in there. And now in my level blueprint, I'm just going to make an easy way to open up our HUD. So what I'm going to do is save all, Blueprints, open level blueprint. I'm just going to type in F and add a keyboard event for F. Get the player controller. Type in create widget. When we press F, we want to create our send message widget. And then you just want to call the add to viewport function like that. So hopefully this will work. Let's give it a go. Alright. So I'm going to hit F and type in, hey bud. There we go. I missed it because I was away for too long. As you remember, the text disappears after some time. Let's try it on another client here. I'm going to try it on this one. If I press F. How are you? And you can see how are you on the other screen over there. You might also want to create a close button for your send message as well. An easy way to actually do this automatically is if we go back into our graph, after we send the message, just go remove from parent, and this will automatically close the send message dialog. So if I send a message here by typing something in, you can see it goes away automatically. You might also need to set the focus back to the game UI, which is also pretty easy to do. We can just drag up from here, set input mode, game only, drag that in there, and you also might want to hide the mouse cursor again, which you can do very easily as well. So there you go. Now you basically have your working chat system. The last thing to do would be to set the initial text so it doesn't say text. But anyways, it's fully working. If I type something, you can see that it appears on other clients. It's kind of hard to show because I've got so many windows and stuff. But you get the idea. It's really hard to show this. I'm sorry, guys. Anyways, as you can see, it's working. We can talk to other players. Let me just try it again one more time. How are you guys? Let's get my other client up here. Oh, there we go. I already said it. You can see on my other client here. Let's say something. What's up? And there you go. You can see it's replicating correctly across clients. I'm going to be doing some more networking videos, I think. I'm doing a batch for the patrons who are supporting me. But I may do some more just on the main channel here. Networking is pretty tedious to learn. So anyways, I hope this helped you guys just to, get your feet wet in terms of networking. It's not as hard as you might think. Some of the, terms and language can be a bit confusing. But anyways, I hope this helped you out, and I'll see you in the next video.